If Jesus already won the victory, why does it feel like I'm fighting every day? I'm fighting lust, pride, greed, fear, all these things that I thought would go away once I gave my life to Jesus. What I guess I didn't understand was that Jesus won the war for eternity. My salvation is secure, but there's a daily battle for who I'm going to trust, who I'm going to let lead my life, but ultimately who I'm going to serve. Because who I trust is who I will serve, and that's who will lead my life. So do I trust God or do I trust me? The devil doesn't need me to worship him. He's just trying to get me to stop trusting God. Because when I stop trusting God, then he gets what the Bible calls a foothold, which is literally just a place. It's just enough space for him to have access and influence over my life. And it always starts small. And it starts by me choosing to entertain a lie or something that's not true instead of just ignoring it. But a foothold is literally just a place. I'm not all of a sudden demon possessed, controlled by the devil. That's not what that means. It's a small space that I give him where he can influence my thoughts, who I'm trusting, how I'm acting, what I'm doing. It's a foot in the door. But he still can't control me, but a foothold gives him influence over me. And with just enough influence, he could get me to do anything. Like, we're so easily influenced. I see someone posting about good food, I'm like, dang, I gotta go try that. All the devil wants is influence in my life. That's how it starts. So spiritual warfare isn't just resisting sin. It's not refusing to sin. It's refusing to stop trusting God. It's refusing to agree with any lies. Because if I'm trusting God, then that means that I'm not trusting my emotions, my thoughts, my desires, and I'm not letting them lead. I'm following Jesus wherever he goes. I'm under his authority. And when I stop trusting him, it means I stop listening to him, which then creates access for someone else to come speak into my life and for someone else to come lead me. And that's when the devil gets his foothold. It means that he has access to influence my thoughts, my emotions, my desires. And it looks different for all of us. It can look like a thought that keeps coming back. It's like, you're not good enough. You'll never be enough. You won't amount to anything that isn't true, anything that isn't aligned with the Bible. It could be habits that we are quick to excuse, like porn or vaping, gossiping, anything like that. It could be something that's like, it's not that deep. It's a habit. It's something that just gives him access and influence in our lives. It could be music, TV shows. It could be friends, relationships, anything that normalizes sin. It's like, see, it's not that bad. Everybody else is doing it. Those are all ways that the devil can get access and influence and shape the way that we think. For me, music and Instagram were huge areas that the devil had access in my life. Those were big footholds. I love music, specifically rap music. But every single artist that I listened to had songs where it was talking about sex, girls, and objectifying women in a way that wasn't honoring God. So I had all these thoughts in my head about sex, girls all the time, 24 hours a day, because that's what I was listening to. So I'm over here praying like, God, help me be pure, help me live a life of purity. But I'm listening to stuff that's not helping me be pure, not helping me live a life of purity. So you could imagine the disconnect there where I'm like, God, I want to live for you and be pure. And I'm listening to sex, thinking songs about sex, thinking about all these things. And I can't stay pure. It would lead me straight to pornography. And then when I would get out of pornography, another access was through Instagram, where I'd be like scrolling, trying to find all these accounts where there were girls that it wasn't porn. So I was like, it's good. It's better than going straight to porn. But I was still giving the devil access into my life. And it was like normalizing these things and being like, it's okay. It's not sin. It's okay. It's not sin. But what it would do is the access grew over time, and it grew and it grew. And then it led me to sin. And it doesn't have to be those specific examples for you. I'm sure I could think of so many more areas that the devil has gotten access, even through my emotions. But all he needs is a foothold. It started with music. It started with Instagram. And it would always lead to sin, because that's how it works. He gets a foot in the door. And eventually, if I don't close the door, if I don't shove him out, then he can come into the house, decorate. He can make himself at home. But I don't want that. I don't want him to have access into my life. I don't want him calling the shots. I don't want him coming up into my house and being like, hey, dude, let's do this. Hey, let's do that. I want to live a life of purity. I want to live following Jesus. I want my heart and my life to honor him and to glorify him. So I have to stop giving the devil access. And I read this verse in James. He says, submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. This whole passage leading up to it, he's talking about what causes quarrels. It's desires in you. He's talking about things that are our desires that are in us that cause us to sin. He's talking about things that are controlling our life and leading us to sin. So his response is submit to God. Resist the devil, and then he will flee. So if I'm submitting to God, that means I'm coming under his authority. That means that I am no longer in control. That means that I am no longer calling the shots of my life, and I come under his authority. But I'm not going to submit to God if I don't trust him. If I don't trust that he's good, why would I give up what's bringing me pleasure right now for something that I may not see in return? Why would I stop going to porn when it's satisfying this immediate need? And why would I choose to trust God for something that I don't know if he's even going to be able to meet, for a need that he's going to be able to meet? I had physical needs. And what I didn't understand was that there were deeper needs in there that God was able to meet when I gave it up. But I first had to surrender. I first had to submit and trust him, come under his authority. And I trust him over my will, my plans, and my desires. And I say, okay, God, I don't understand it right now, but I know that you're good. I know that you're going to work this out for me. So I'm going to trust you. Before I could submit to God, I have to understand that he is good. The Bible says, in view of God's mercy, present yourselves as living sacrifices. That means to live for God in view of what he did for us, in view of his love, of his grace, of what he poured out on the cross. I choose to no longer live for me, but to live for him. So I can submit to him because he gave everything for me. What else would he hold back? It says, if he gave his own son, if God gave his own son, what else would he hold back? Nothing. That was his show of love. So with that, knowing that, I can submit to God because I'm like, God, you are good. So submitting to him means I put my thoughts, my emotions, and my desires under his authority. Paul says we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. I don't let my thoughts control me. I grab a hold of the thought, good or bad, and I submit it to God. And I say, God, I am not following my thoughts. I'm following what you have to say. If I follow my thoughts and I listen to them, then I'm going to be giving access to the devil because he creeps in through my thoughts. He starts to try to trick me and deceive me in my thoughts. So I have to take these thoughts and submit them to God and say, okay, what are we doing? And I make them obey Christ. I think that's baller. Make them obedient to Christ. It's like, no, this thought, you're going to obey Christ. That's pretty cool. And then he also says, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. So he's talking here about our emotions. Our emotions shouldn't lead us to sin. In your anger, do not sin. When you're feeling these emotions, don't let it lead you to sin. And it says, don't let the sun go down while you're still angry. I always thought that meant I had a deadline of when I could be angry. And I was like, well, if I'm angry after dark, I'm screwed. But what he's saying here is don't go a whole day without bringing your emotions to God. Don't go a day without submitting them to God, bringing them under his authority. Because if I'm angry and I sin, I give the devil access. If I'm angry and I hold on to my bitterness and my resentment, then I give the devil access. Both of those things lead to giving him access and influence into my life. So I have to submit to him quickly when I feel something, fear, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, I submit it to God. I take my thoughts, I take my emotions, and I submit it to God. And then Jesus showed us by example that it's not about what I want. He says, not my will, but yours be done. He's in the garden knowing that he's about to die. And he doesn't want that. But he's like, not my will, but yours be done. He showed us first what it means to submit. Jesus submitted to the Father and said, I'm coming under your authority. I'm coming under who you are to be an example to everybody else that I can trust you. I'm going to submit even if it leads me to death. And submitting to God does lead to death. There's desires that I had to kill. There are emotions that I had to kill. I couldn't get revenge when I wanted. There are things that die when we follow Jesus. And if you're not and if I follow Jesus without anything dying, that means I haven't really followed Jesus. Because his very command is pick up your cross daily. That's not just something to carry around. That doesn't mean like you have to do all these good things. No, that means I have to die. That means I have to nail me to the cross. My flesh, my desires, my thoughts, I submit to God. And then when it says resist the devil, that's not an extra step. That's not anything else that I have to do. I don't have to like fight him and be like, yeah, I'm gonna fight. When I'm submitted to God, Resisting is overflow of that because I am obedient to God if I'm submitted to Him. So obedience is resistance. When I'm submitted to God and I come under His authority and I say, I want to do what you want me to do, my response and my obedience is resisting the devil. So if the devil's like, you should get revenge, but God says, I want you to forgive, and I choose to forgive, then I resisted bitterness. I resisted him. I resisted anger, unforgiveness, offense, all the things that come with that. Or if the devil's like, hey, you should go check out this website, you should go to this Instagram account, and God's like, don't go there. You know what's going to happen when you go down that road. And I obey him, then I resisted lust. I resisted falling into adultery and sexual immorality. Obedience is resisting. So when God's like, wait, and I trust him, I'm resisting leading my own life. I'm resisting serving my thoughts, my emotions, and my desires. To submit to God and resist the devil is one and the same. Because if I'm truly submitted to God, I'm going to obey what he says, and that's how I resist the devil. And then the promise is that he will flee. And why does he flee? Is because I'm under God's authority. I'm under the authority of the one who defeated him. When I'm under God's authority, the devil can't touch me because he can't come where God has authority. He has no permission. He has no say. He has no power when I'm under God's authority. But when I'm outside of God's authority and I'm not submitted to God, then he has access. Then he has power. Then he can influence me. So my first step in closing off access, my first step in living a life of purity and of holiness is to be submitted to God. That's what I have to do. And the promise is that when I'm submitted to God and I resist the devil through obedience, he will flee. It's not a maybe, it's a promise. When I'm under God's authority, I fight from victory. I resist from victory. I'm not trying to do anything, but when I'm outside of God's authority and I try to fight, and I try to do all these things. I go to church, I read my Bible, I pray, I give, I have website blockers, I have all these things, and I'm doing everything in my effort. I'm fighting for victory, not from it. I'm trying to earn victory when I could have it if I just submit to God. So the devil, all he's trying to do is to get me to not trust God and to not submit to him, because it all threads back to will I trust God? Because if I trust God, then I can submit to him. If I don't trust God, then I won't submit to him. So he doesn't need me to worship him. He doesn't need me to live my life as a Satanist or agnostic, atheist, none of that. He just needs me to stop trusting God, because then he can get a foothold. If I stop trusting God with my emotions and my thoughts and my desires, and I stop submitting them to him, then he has access. Then the devil has access. But if instead I'm like, God, I'm going to trust you with my life. I'm going to trust you with all of these things that I want, and I'm going to live for you because you are good, in view of what you did for me, in how you gave your life, how you showed me your love. I'm going to trust you that you are good, and I'm going to submit to you. I don't want to live for me. I want to live for you, and that's how I shut off access. But it all starts with believing that God is good, because if I can't trust him, then I will never submit. Spiritual warfare doesn't have to be this huge, spooky thing. God already won that. Jesus already defeated Satan. It's mainly in here. It's in our mind. It's in our hearts. Who do we trust? I don't have to worry about majority of spiritual warfare. God took care of that. There's a lot of nuance. It's a very big topic. But the main thing for me is I have to trust God. That's it. The devil's main plan is to get me separated from God, to get me separated from the source of life, to keep me disconnected from him, because he knows that if I'm disconnected from God, I'm disconnected from authority, I'm disconnected from power, and I'm disconnected from life. And that's perfect, because that's what he needs. He can't win a fight he's already lost. So what he tries to do is get me separated from the one who won. So I want to challenge you. Ask God, is there an area in my heart that I haven't submitted? Is there an emotion, a thought, or desire that I am letting rule my life? Because it doesn't have to be true. You don't have to keep giving the devil access. God has freedom for you.